This ain't a fucking hobby. I don't know who the fuck
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back once again to Vicious Wrestling your host. Jason is starting off an indicator. Never duplicate us since our 2%. Gonna go over the show Raw was in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and well. Before we get into the show, and before we even switch gears and talk about the SmackDown Rewind, honestly, I gotta address the elephant in the room on probably the biggest surprise that happened on the show, and hands down, probably the biggest surprise to date since the whole Vince retiring and Triple H manning the helm sort of thing. Fucking Johnny Gargano is back. Johnny Gargano has officially returned, and he is on Monday nights, and honestly, I was not expecting it. I will be man enough to admit, I did not expect it. Now, I said before when that, Johnny did make it point blank. He wanted to spend the first year of his kid's life being there for him. Being there all the time. And I get that. I respect that. Being a dad myself. I get that. Listen, nobody understands that more than me. I'm more involved in my kid's life than most dads. And that, and I know for a fact there are times my son wish I wasn't, but either way. Johnny's back, and just, it was a big shock to the system, no pun intended about Undisputed, but it was just wow. Very surreal for me. And it was really cool to see. I got a little choked up and my jaw hit the floor. With that said, now we're going to switch gears and talk about last week via the SmackDown Rewind and the big highlights from last week's SmackDown. Well, Ronda Rousey hijacked the show at the beginning of SmackDown when she came out, talked about on how, oh yeah, I paid my fine for my suspension last week, dumping a big duffel bag full of Chuck E. Cheese money, or not even dumping a duffel bag full of Monopoly money out, and then talking about on how insisting Adam Pearce lifts her suspension and reinstates her now, at this moment. And my first thought hearing that was, Rhonda, sweetie, listen, honey, I'm not quite sure if you understand this, but this is the real world. This is not on how things work. You're suspended. You don't get to say when things are lifted. It's the boss's job to. It's corporate's job to, not yours. So, yeah. Either way, Adam Pearce then came out, said that's above his pay grade, he can't do that, blah, 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 blah. Then insisted that she step out of the ring, otherwise security will then be forced to take her out. She didn't. Security tried to escort her out of the ring. She kicked their ass, then she got arrested, thrown in the back of a cop car, and then, of all the stupid things Ronda Rousey has said, quite possibly the stupidest, nice haircut to Adam Pearce. And really, you're going to say nice haircut to a bald guy? Really? Just, yeah. Either way, other highlights from the show. Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan and JC Jane wound up taking the place of Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons for the Women's Tag Title Tournament, and it was announced that day of that it was going to happen because between Zoe getting the crap kicked out of her on Tuesday and, well, according to the reports, and like always with the news reports from the dirt sheets, take them all with a grain of salt, but apparently Nikita Lyons has been dealing with numerous injuries, which just kind of tells me she's either accident prone or her body's not calloused to taking the bumps yet. But either way. Toxic Attraction wound up having a match against Natalya, Sonya Deville. Toxic got the win. However, it was announced right before the beginning of the show, Gigi Dolan wound up getting injured during the match. Therefore, Toxic Attraction is out of the tournament, and instead they're going to have a fatal 4-way to fill that empty slot to see who goes against Aliyah and Raquel Rodriguez from the losing teams. And oh man, it feels a little snake bit. It feels a little snake bit to me. But a hope for the best. That's the best I can say on that. Next up, they had a fatal 5-way to determine who's going to face Gunther at Clash at the Castle for the Intercontinental Championship. Sheamus, Madcap Moss, Happy Corbin, Ricochet, and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn got the biggest pop of the night, being Quebec, being Montreal's very own shining sun, prodigal son, I should say, or Quebec's prodigal son. But either way, hell of a match that they had, absolutely fucking awesome. Sheamus got the win, which my eyes got big and bug-eyed, and then my jaw hit the floor at the thought of, we're gonna have Sheamus, who's that big Irish bastard, go against that Gunther, that big Austrian bastard. So we're going to have two European trained wrestlers going against each other in a UK show. This is going to be bowling shoe ugly in all of the right fucking ways possible. Because don't get me wrong, as much as I would have loved Sami Zayn in that match, it wouldn't have delivered half as good as the idea of Sheamus and Gunther will. So yeah, Liv Morgan had a match against Shotzi, and this came to be because them two had a little Twitter back and forth fight, which is meh. The match itself was kind of meh. And Shayna then came out, beat the crap out of Liv Morgan after the match, blah, 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 blah. Last big moment of the show was Roman and Drew McIntyre having face-to-face confrontation with each other. Roman coming out basically saying, now if someone out here is saying they're the face of the company, they're not. And if somebody's coming out here saying they've been carrying this company on their back, Drew, they're not. I've been doing it. I've been doing it. I'm here. I am the tribal chief. I move the needle. This, that, and the other. Roman doing his bit, which top notch on. Can't argue it. Drew then came out, all sorts of pissed off. You don't represent that title the way it should be represented. It should be here day in and day out, not just when you damn well want to. And this, that, and the other. You know what? We don't have to wait for Clash at the Castle. Let's just go right now. And just as they're getting ready to go, next thing, they start brawling back and forth, going at each other. And just as it looks like Drew's about to go and hit a Claymore, next thing you know, Sami Zayn pushes Roman out of the way, takes a Claymore for him. Roman starts getting the advantage, beats him up some, sizes up Drew for a spear. Wah! Powers up. And then just as he's doing a running charge, Drew pops him with a Claymore, grabs both titles, holds him over his head while a husk of Roman is laying in front of him. And that's the highlights from SmackDown. So with that said, let's get into this week's show. Raw in Toronto. It starts out with Seth and Riddle fucking fighting each other in the back. The big highlight on that was they were fighting in the gorilla. They're fighting in gorilla position. And Michael Hayes is just sitting in the back like, well, fuck. I ain't getting involved in that shit. Do. Let them two boys figure that shit out. Like, that was the biggest highlight on that. Just Michael Hayes just sitting there like, I don't give a fuck. Let them two boys fight. That makes some good TV. Do. And then they eventually get out to the crowd. They fight through the crowd and then out into the ring. And they eventually get separated and they go to commercial. They come back. Ooh, we come back. We come back and Trish Stratus. We get Trish Stratus. Yes, Toronto's own and the crown jewel of Canadian women wrestlers. And folks, let this not be much of a surprise to you, but back when I was in college, I once made a thesis saying Canada's second greatest export. Yes, second greatest export. Their second greatest export, just under maple syrup. Drop dead gorgeous women wrestlers. Trish Stratus being at the top of that list for an example. But I still stand by that argument. One of these days I'm going to look for that thesis. I'm going to put it out there for everyone to see. But somebody attempt to prove me wrong. I challenge that. Either way, Trish is out. She's talking about on how, she's glad to be back, this, that, and the other. And then we're interrupted by Bayley. Bayley, Io, and Dakota. Bayley then starts talking down on Trish, on how she's the past, we're the future, this, that, and the other. And then Bianca, and then just as they're saying, Trish just goes, then takes off her coat, which, huge crowd pop for that. And then Io, the way Io was looking at Trish was, the way Io was looking at Trish was pretty much the same way all of us have looked at Trish over the years. And then she was saying, I can go from being retired to inaction just like that, and saying, we outnumber you. Bianca came out, started picking up for Trish, and was saying, we still outnumber you, and then 3-2. And then we get the music and Little Miss Bliss and Asuka. So, okay, I thought Vince was trying to kill me at one point with all these women, but now I'm fairly certain Hunter's trying to make me have a heart attack before the first hour of Raw is over, because within the first hour we get Trish, Bayley, Io, Dakota, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Bianca. Yeah, that's all I'm going to leave it at. Wow. So anyways, that segment then eventually turned into the tag match, which was to determine who goes to the finals in the women's tag title tournament. Bliss and Asuka were leading up into the commercial break. They come back. The heels were leading after the break. Honest to God, though, the big highlight of this match was no doubt when fucking Io and Asuka were in the ring together, and it was just like, oh my God. The world stopped right then and there, and all eyes were directly on that. Just, we have reached the promised land, man. Yeah, that was, wow. Even if it was only for a few short moments, still, we reached the promised land with that. Just nothing else to say on that. Great match, hell of an opener. Match came to an end when Io wound up doing a blind tag on Dakota, who's getting put on the ass end of an ass kicking by Asuka. Asuka wound up putting the Asuka lock in on Dakota. Again, didn't see the blind tag. Kai eventually tapped out. Ref never called for the bell because the ref saw the tag, obviously. Asuka then let go, like, yay, wait, they didn't ring the bell? What's going on? And then Io came out of nowhere with doing a roll-up, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Fucking roll-up. Hate the roll-ups. Death to roll-ups. But either way. Next up, we got Ziggler going against Finn Balor. had a backstage segment where Ziggler was getting interviewed about how does he feel going into this match. I feel, looking to pick up from where last week with Theory, the kid's got the world on his shoulders, and I'm trying to show him that, he's got that, and he's got so much potential. But, kid, you got to know on how to act, and then Finn stepped in. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold it right there. I have heard this crap all before. You're no different than any other old-timer saying, come here, kid, I'll show you on what to do. Come here, you do this, kid, you do that, kid, all the while you're holding on to them so that way you can extend your career, kid. And then Dolph just like, kid, aren't we like the same, in like the same age group? Which they honestly are. Dolph and Finn are. But then Ziggler popped a cheap shot onto Balor and then said, make sure you learn from that, kid. See you out there. And then walked out. And yeah. So now we got Dolph Ziggler going against Finn Balor. And really good, solid action between these guys. I really dug the hell out of it. And Rhea in her outfit. Whew, good Lord Almighty. Heart medication. Definitely a good thing I took my heart medication. Yeah, can't have that old ticker given out just yet. Got way too much looking forward to in the near future. Yeah, good match, solid action. I thought it was a good I thought it told a good story of Ziggler being that veteran of, I can still go. Don't question if I still can't go. I may not get the win, but you know what? I'm gonna make you fucking earn that win. And that's on how I see it anyway. But Balor wound up getting the win because Rhea wound up doing a cheap shot onto Ziggler when the ref wasn't looking. And then Finn did the Bloody Sunday, then the coup de grace. 1, 2, 3. Next up, we got Chad Gable coming out, issuing an open challenge to anyone to any Canadian out there. And, before he did, though, he chastised Toronto, saying he saw nothing but people with large bellies, pumping nothing but Tim Hortons in them. And ripped on them for Toronto losing to Tampa Bay in hockey, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. Normal heel 101, bury the town. Throw shit on the town name and all that jazz. Then he issued out the challenge, waited. Then we hear KO's music. Not only KO's music, he's got his old classic NXT Tron video. And he's coming out with the old KO duct tape shirt. And Owens just looks like he was 8 years ago. Back in NXT, and it's just like, oh. So we're really doing this. We're going back to the old school KO. Okay. And, man, Owens and Gable have some really great chemistry with each other. Just, wow, these two guys fed off of each other just fucking incredibly. I love the match. It was nonstop. And, we're about halfway through the show at this point, talking as far as match listings, and I'm going to just say it now. It's been a couple weeks into the Triple H regime, and the one thing I have noticed watching the shows, and I'm watching want to make sure I say this the right way, an objective fan. I'm not trying to watch it as a fanboy of one program over another or any. Far from that. You put any kind of wrestling in front of me, I'm a fucking fan of that promotion when I watch it. I don't care what it is. Could be WWE, could be GCW, could be AEW, NWA, MLW, whatever the fuck. I'm a fan right then and there of that promotion at that point in time when I watch it. I don't have one that I'm particularly party loyal to. But either way, I've been watching it for, objectively, for the past couple weeks, and the one thing I have noticed since the Triple H regime is not just the match quality improving, but the matches more so feeling more like the old NXT black and gold style kind of matches. You know, in that, like moving in that kind of pace. And honestly, I'm okay with that. It's not a bad thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm just saying that's what I've noticed. That's my personal view and my critique, at which, given this is the internet, it equals to absolute shit. My view equals absolute shit compared to the next asshole out there who has a view that may be different than mine. Opinions are like assholes. We all have them, and 99.999% of them all stink. Just make sure you remember to use soap and clean that thing, otherwise it will stink. Moving forward though, Chad Gable, Kevin Owens, great chemistry, absolutely love the match with each other, really great to see. Match came to an end with Owens. He got the win doing a pop-up powerbomb. So yeah, like I said, old school KO. I can dig it. Afterwards, Otis had a little bit of a scuffle with Otis. Popped Otis with a stunner. Then picked Gable up and then just had him under his legs, and he looked back and forth. My first thought was, "Oh, you're gonna do a package? Don't tease with a package pile driver. Don't." Did not tease though. Just hoisted Gable up and powerbombed him onto Otis, and then walked out. That was it. Next up, we got Aliyah versus Bayley, and whew, good Lord Almighty. This came to be because backstage interview segment with Aliyah, and then Bayley stepped in, and then Trish stepped up, and then it was a little bit of back and forth, blah 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 blah. Well, why don't you prove that tonight? Okay, I'll see you out there. Blah 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 blah. Okay, that's enough now. Just down. Behave. Down. Moving forward, Aliyah versus Bayley. Aliyah got a really good home crowd pop. She was a little teary-eyed seeing, yeah, you could even see it. She was teary-eyed seeing the crowd reaction to her, and I'm very much so hard. I carry my heart on my sleeve, as you can obviously see right there. But at the same time, I'm also, you don't show your emotion. You don't show your emotion. You don't show your heart out there when you're going out for a fight. So now I'm kind of torn in that sense, because on one hand I see that, but on the other I'm like, don't let them see your heart, kid. But I can't argue, because honestly, if I was in WWE and I had a chance to get a big primetime match in Philadelphia, I'd probably get a little choked up too. So yeah. Either way, really good match. Bayley, she was leading the pace. It was a great welcoming back match, so to say. Kind of like what it was, shades of Dakota Kai and Dana Brooke was. It's more so this was the case with Bayley and Aliyah. Bayley got the win doing the Rose Plant, 1, 2, 3. That was it. Next up, we got tag action. Ciampa and Miz going against the almighty Bobby Lashley and Uncle Allen himself, AJ Styles. And this was a damn good match. Faces, they were leading into the break. AJ wound up being the punching bag post-break. This was a decent match, though. Like I said, I dug it. It was good. Told a nice story. Bobby Lashley got the hot tag in, started working good. Match came to an end, though, with DQ when, you know how like they've been leading, like past couple weeks they've been leading up with Dexter Lumis, you know, getting around with AJ Styles type stuff. AJ's on the outside, getting his bearings. Dude behind the barricade goes and grabs him, like gives him a bear hug. Security pulls him off. He's got a big hood on. They pull the hood off. You see it's just some regular Joe Schmo looking motherfucker. Probably just a local talent that they paid like $300 to do that with. Miz is on the outside also. Miz pops AJ with a big boot, and then next thing you know, Loomis rips his mask off, puts Miz in a chokehold, and yanks him over the barricade and kidnaps him, which, honestly, okay, crazy random fan theory, or not even crazy random fan theory, crazy random fantasy booking type shit that I think would be funny. Dexter Loomis kidnaps The Miz, right? Now Miz, he's off TV for the next couple weeks. When he returns, he's like his old debuted post Tough Enough self, wearing the jorts and the hair with the faux hawk and with the red faux hawk, looking like the Red Rooster type look, and just like that, and that way everyone's just looking like, what the fuck? And everyone's just, and for like the next few weeks, everyone just keeps trying to remind Miz of who he is, how far he's come since then, you know, main eventing WrestleMania, 2-time Grand Slam champion, married to a Playboy model, having award-winning reality show, this, that, and the other, all that, you know, eventually Miz takes a really bad bunk on the head and then remembers. Shades of like something you'd see off the Flintstones. That's me with my crazy fantasy booking, which honestly equals next, again, it's on the internet, equals next to shit compared to the next person. But yeah, match ended in a DQ because Loomis kidnapped The Miz. Afterwards though, Ciampa, he was in the ring, still willing to fight, taking it to Lashley and Styles for a minute until they both wound up knocking him down and putting Ciampa on the ass end of an ass whooping. Then we come to main event of the night. Damian Priest versus Edge. I will never tire of getting a grin on my face anytime I ever hear Edge's entrance music. And my God, Edge came out and he looked like $1 million. Excuse me. There was no denying that. Beth Phoenix was sitting on the other side, ringside on the other side of the barricade watching. No one from Judgment Day on Priest's side, no one out there on Edge's side. Just two guys going at it, and my God, great sizing up, back and forth, getting a feel for each other at the start. Edge was leading the pace. Really, really great, fantastic match. And yes, they highlighted nonstop. This is Edge's first match on Raw in Toronto in over a decade. His last match was against Christian. This, that, and the other. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, but man, all of that hype and all of that build-up led up to this, and it fucking delivered. It was great. Charles Robinson was the ref. He wound up taking a bump to the outside. And then when he did, Priest, he had Edge sized up for a one-man concerto. Had the chair wound back. Wham! Missed. Priest then dropped the chair because of the shock from it. Like, jolt on the hands. Like, gah! Edge then came in, knocked down Priest. Broke off the part of the chair. Wound up doing like that crossface with the piece wedged in his mouth for a minute and then let go. And then back and forth for a minute. Match eventually came to an end with Edge. Of all things, I would never have guessed to ever see Edge do in a million years. Edge did a Canadian Destroyer. That's right. Adam Edge Copeland did a Canadian Destroyer on Monday Night Raw. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, we have peaked, folks. We have peaked. We have peaked. I am not sure how long we can stay at the peak, but we are there. We have seen the top of the mountain, and it is good. He did a Canadian Destroyer, then a Spear, 1, 2, 3. That was it. After the match, though, then Finn and Rhea came down, 3-on-1 beatdown, and then just as Finn had a chair, was getting ready to go and take it to Edge, Beth Phoenix hopped over like a crazy wife would, yanked the chair off of him, got in there, had the chair, and was in front like, go ahead, I dare a motherfucker. I dare one of you motherfuckers to step. And all the while, just like, oh, okay. And then they eventually pull back. It's like, alright, I see on how you playing. Alright. So, personal predictions, we're going to get a mixed tag match at Clash at the Castle, which I'm not going to argue on. I can't even make an argument on it. But either way, that is it for this week's show, folks. So please, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, go back, watch some of the episodes when you can. Look for me on the Twitter at @TimVicious. Also, folks, thank you to my executive producer, Aliyah Ben, who did provide the music for this week's show. Make sure y'all check it out. It's on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, all that good shit. Details are down below. Also, thank you to LFC Lingerie Fighting Championship. They're a little bit of wrestling. A little bit on that name, you know, a whole lot of attractive women wearing a little bit of nothing. Also, folks, make sure y'all check out whatamaneuver.net for some vicious rants apparel. Make sure y'all check it out, help support the show and pay the bills over in this place. Do not forget to also follow these cool ass cats right on their Twitter. Kenny Killer DSV_IV Diabolica RA Sergeant Curry Pants and Dubs in your face.
I've been in for a minute. By a minute, I really mean it.
Like I always tell y'all, you love me great, you hate me.
Few free beers. Here's never something that occurs to me. Walk to the spot, grab the mic, convert fans you had currently. Your life